Good start. Hello. How's it going? It's because I didn't use my Stream Deck. I've built a special thing, and I couldn't be bothered to program it into my Stream Deck. So my Stream Deck didn't automatically put my audio on. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Platform 32. Is there some game noise? There is some game noise. Yeah, my name's Ian Higton, and welcome to Ian's Super Secret Solo Project Reveal Stream. Hopefully you can all hear me now. If not, then I don't know. Looks like you can all hear me now. Excellent. Yes, so this is a reveal stream of something I've had in the back of my mind now for a couple of years. And it's something I've been working on. Well, I started working on it about a year and a half ago, maybe. Some of you who watch the streams may remember me talking about a secret project I was working on, and I lost confidence in it a lot, and also it's a lot of hard work, and I just kind of didn't feel great about it, basically. And I put it on hold for ages, and then I was like, do you know what? You've written 9,000 plus words, almost 10,000 plus words. Just fucking do it. Get it up. If people think it's shit, then people will think it's shit, and I won't do another one. If people think it's good, then I can carry on and do some other stuff. I can do more of it. So I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm gonna switch to a screen that'll tell you what it is in a sec. But what I will say is it is not. Oh, thank you, Steve Scodes, for the super chat. It is not like any normal stuff I do. It's not funny. It touches on things that may be triggering for some people. You will understand when you see. But I think most Viewingtons will be fine with it. But this is definitely not something that I've done before that you guys would be used to at all. But if you're anything like me, you might quite dig it. I'm not live on Twitch, huh? Oh. Why is that, I wonder? I don't know. I don't know why. Restream is sending data, it says. Let me turn it off and on again. See if that works. I don't know. Otherwise, people might not have to. People might have to. I don't know why it's not sending data to Twitch. I guess Twitch must be down. It's never done that before. Sorry. Yeah. So just content warning. Some of this stuff broaches on real world things, even though it's not real world things. You'll understand. But here we go. Let's. It's. Oh, Twitch is down today, says Steve Scodes. There we go. So, yes, here we go. I have launched an OnlyFans, just as you've all guessed. Here it comes, my closer. No, not really. I haven't really launched an OnlyFans. This, hopefully, you'll still be able to hear me if I click onto here. Okay, you can still hear me. All right. This is what I done.
Welcome to the first ever episode of Virtual Criminality. I'm Ian Higton, and in this series I'll be combining two of my greatest passions, video gaming and true crime, into one gruesome whole. But what exactly does that mean? Well, each episode of Virtual Criminality will focus on a different video game villain, and I'll be presenting their fictional stories as fact, in the style of a true crime series. That means, along with all the usual gory serial killer stuff that you'd expect from a real-world true crime series, there'll also be times when we get to explore not only the fantastical, but the supernatural too. So, if like me, you're into true crime, video game theories, and creepypastas, you, my friends, have come to the right place. In today's episode, I'll be taking a deep dive into the dark and disturbing world of the fearsome leader of a group of modern-day pirates. This charismatic but highly psychotic individual and his ragtag band of drug-addled followers have been linked to an untold number of crimes in and around the Indonesian archipelago known as the Rook Islands. These crimes include, but are not limited to, armed robberies, sexual assaults, drug smuggling, hijackings, gun running, human trafficking, and most recently, the kidnapping and attempted murder of a group of American tourists. But that's not even the craziest part. There's also proof of our subject's involvement in the murder of a high-profile celebrity, and, almost unbelievably, there are even hints that he was the mastermind behind the secret assassination of one of the world's most feared dictators. So, with all that said and done, welcome to episode 1 of Virtual Criminality and the story of Vaas Montenegro.
Right, cool. You can still hear me. Okay, so there we go. That is Virtual Criminality. This is a true crime series set in the world of video games. So it is fictional video game characters, fictional video game villains told as if they were real, which means that not only am I taking some video game lore, I'm also injecting a little bit of artistic license into some other things in order to make it sound a little bit more real. So if you watch the full thing, you'll see, and if you've played some of the Far Cry games, you'll see I've changed minor bits. I've skipped over some bits, or I've added a bit of personality, not personality, but a bit of extra lore. I've made up some kind of things for instance, some of the characters' quotes. I say that they've been interviewed by the Jakarta Post and stuff like that once they've been, once they've escaped and things. So I kind of try and put these video game stories into the real world. Now, as you saw then, that was a video. Thanks for Super Chat, Jimbo. He says, love it, great idea. I'm too scared to read everyone's comments. I'm scrolling out because I need to see Steve Scode's one. The man, the myth, the legend, that is Ian Higton. Love to see you. I am doing well, Steve Scode's. A little bit nervous, but I'm doing well. So, yes, it's fictional true crime. You saw a video version there, but you may be surprised to know that this idea didn't start out as a YouTube video. This idea actually started off, I was going to do it as a podcast. And then I thought, why not do it instead on YouTube? Because I have a big audience on Platform 32 anyway. And then I thought, why not do both? So, going into the YouTube chat right now are links to the podcast on both Spotify and Apple. If you search for Virtual Criminality or follow those links, you will be able to listen to my voice and my story about Vaas Montenegro over on the podcast app of your choice. I've signed up to Acast, and Acast kind of sends it off to other places. So it is also on, some of the ones take a little while, but it's also going up onto Google podcasts and stuff like that. But Spotify and iTunes are the ones that are already up as well. This one is 55 minutes long. This is the pilot. Please be aware, this is the pilot episode. It's probably not rough around the edges, but there's bits in it that I kind of wanted to change after listening to it 10 million times. But maybe the episodes later will be a bit shorter, just because, as you'll see in some of the clips coming up, I had to capture a lot of footage for this one, and editing all that footage in took quite a long time as well. Thanks for Super Chat, Relaxed Tiger. So yes, there is the podcast versions you can listen to on a podcast app of your choice. But
welcome to the first ever episode of Virtual.
Forgot to close that one. But there is also the YouTube version, which is coming up soon. I'll set it live near the end of this very muddled live stream. But that's going to be the thumbnail for it. I've copied, I basically Googled true crime and tried to replicate what the big true crime people do with their thumbnails. So this will be the thumbnail kind of template, you know, big red words, arrows, close-up faces of whoever the target of the stream is, whoever we're talking about on the video even. And I do have 2 other episodes in pre-production right now. I'll talk about them in a bit. But first, let's play another clip from the show. This is a little bit more about Vaas's sadistic personality and some of the really horrible tortures that he does to his victims. You know, warning, torture stuff. Yeah.
As stories of their deeds grew, Vaas and his pirates quickly became notorious around Indonesia, and local islanders knew to either avoid the crew or risk death, or worse. You see, Vaas was a special kind of sadist, one who took way more pleasure in tormenting his victims than he did from the act of actually killing them. In fact, it was said that he'd often grow weirdly attached to the people whom he'd abused the worst, even to the point where sometimes he'd grieve for those he'd killed for days afterwards, before instantly snapping out of it when he found a new plaything to punish. There were reports of Vaas tying an uncooperative kidnappee to some rocks and torturing him for hours before finishing him off by firing an RPG at him from almost point-blank range. RPG stands for rocket-propelled grenade, by the way, if you want to get an idea of just how messy that would have been. He would also sometimes force groups of prisoners that he couldn't sell into slavery to wear the bodies of recently slaughtered deer. Then he'd let them loose around the forests of the Rook Islands and hunt them for sport, even going so far as to take along a large bronze horn with him, which he'd blow like some kind of demented fox hunter as he and his men closed in on a kill. Other times he'd raid the yachts of unsuspecting holidaymakers who had inadvertently sailed into his territory, and if there was no one on board that he felt he could sell or ransom back to their families, he'd single one of them out and ask them to choose which of their fellow passengers should die instead of them. And then, after they'd made that agonizing choice and watched as Vaas murdered those that they had chosen in cold blood, he'd just end up killing everyone anyway. It's even been said that Vaas would take some of his prisoners to the top of a remote cenote, which is basically a giant sinkhole with water at the bottom, and then he'd tie breeze blocks to his victims' feet and kick them off the side. But in a blatant display of calculated evil, he'd leave a few feet of slack on the rope between the victim's feet and the block. This was just enough length to give his victims a couple of seconds worth of hope as they swam upwards before the rope went taut and they drowned in agony an inch or 2 below the surface. One unnamed witness who was interviewed for a piece in the Jakarta Post in 2010 even told of a special field that Vaas would take great pleasure in tending. In this field, the witness said they saw dozens of rakyat villagers planted in rows like they were a crop of cabbages. The rakyat were buried up to their necks in hot sand and then left to die of thirst in the blazing sun as giant black forest ants crawled into their mouths, noses and ears. Some of those exposed heads belonged to people who were long dead, and they were now shriveled up and almost mummified by the elements, signifying that Vaas had been planting this gruesome garden for many years. But the terrified witness also explained that some of those buried were still very much alive, and that they could even hear some of the more fresh heads begging through blistered lips to be put out of their misery.
Okay. What a lovely chap Vaas is. What a lovely chap indeed. Now, I have noticed in the chat is my lovely friend Ray Ray. Now, Ray Ray got a sneak peek at virtual criminality earlier. And I noticed after her sneak peek, hold on, let's go back in vision. I noticed after Ray Ray's sneak peek that she must have listened to the podcast right to the end, because Ray is the first follower on the Virtual Crime Pod Twitter account, of which I have put a link to that page in the comments. Virtual Crime Pod is it's just going to be a nice place to put some links up to things, maybe some behind the scenes stuff. Maybe you could tweet suggestions for characters or villains I can cover in future episodes. But that is the Twitter account if you want to follow it, and if you can access the podcast, then do give it if you could possibly, if you like it, please do give it a good review. Why the F can't I load this up on Apple Podcasts, says Nightcat? I am not sure. You could search for it by name if that link's not working, I think. But there is it was working earlier, but knowing me and my technical difficulties, I've already started the stream muted and broken Twitch in this stream. So, you know, I'm on a bloody roll. Woo! So yes, do follow Virtual Crime Pod at Virtual Crime Pod on Twitter, and also go and review. Give it a review if you can on the podcast apps, and share Virtual Criminality with your true crime loving friends, my friends. That would be very kind of you. Spotify's working allegedly, so it's working for some people, I think. It's working for some people and some not for some. But maybe it's because I had to upload the episode again very quickly about 2 hours ago because I missed off a bleep. Because I've been bleeping the F word, fuckity fuck, because then I get, like, maybe I don't have to do explicit ratings. So, I missed off a bleep. I was listening to it back just before the stream started, and I was like, and Vaas went, fuck, and I was like, fuck! So I put the bleep back in and re-uploaded it, and I don't know, maybe that's done some weirdness to it. But yes, so that was a little bit about Vaas and his sadistic personality and his tortures. We'll also hear about Vaas's early life, what little is known about it, and not just Vaas. We'll also hear about Vaas's what would you call it? I forget words now. Vaas's enemy, Jason Brody. There is lots of stuff in there as well about Jason Brody and his friends, who they were, how they ended up in the predicament they got on the Rook Islands. And you can hear a little bit about Jason adversary, that's the word I was looking for. You can hear a little bit about some of Jason Brody's stuff right now.
The video cuts off abruptly just as gunshots can be heard ringing out in the background. Turns out that the pirate was right to warn Vaas about the security breach, because Jason Brody, with quite a bit of help from the Rakyat I might add, had actually managed to track Vaas and his friends to Sunset Cove, and he was now shooting his way through the cave in a desperate bid to rescue Lisa. Now, I know Jason doesn't come across too well in some of the interviews he took part in immediately after his escape, and if you've seen them, you'll know what I mean. He's pretty arrogant about the whole thing, boasting about how his time on the island honed his reflexes and enhanced his strength, and how killing the pirates, and I quote, feels like winning. But I think you've got to hand it to him for having the balls to try to rescue his friends, rather than just taking the easy route and escaping the island. The sensible thing would obviously have been to try to head to the mainland and seek out help from the Indonesian National Police, but God knows how long that would have taken and what would have happened to his friends in the meantime. Plus, this seems like a decent way to honour his brother, who undoubtedly would have done the same thing. In one interview with the Washington Post, Jason shared his brother Grant's last words, which were, "I promised Dad I'd take care of you two," and this, he said, was one of the main reasons why he decided to risk his own life and go back for Riley and the others. Unfortunately for Jason, however, this rescue mission, as brave as it was doomed to failure. Just as Jason was about to reach Lisa's location, a pirate stepped out of the shadows and blindsided him with the butt of a rifle, knocking him unconscious. According to Jason, he was awoken later by the strong smell of gasoline and an unbelievable pain inside of his head where he'd been struck by the weapon. He tried to touch the wound, but his arms were strapped to a wooden chair and he couldn't move. In front of him, also tied to chairs, were Lisa and Oliver. Both were awake and both looked terrified. Lisa would go on to tell the Indonesian National Police that while Jason was knocked out, the trio had been moved from the prison to the ruins of the old Island Port Hotel complex nearby, which, if you remember, was the location where Vaas and Citra used to go for their secret meetups back in the day. But anyway, as Jason's vision began to clear, he saw Vaas emerging from a crumbling wall behind Lisa. Well, okay, emerge is the wrong word, because Jason described Vaas's entrance as more of a dance, with Vaas almost gliding across the floor, spinning and turning and clutching a huge can of gasoline like a dance partner as he poured it liberally over the floor, walls and captive occupants of the room. Lisa describes the horror of this moment in her statement pretty well. She could hear Vaas speaking, but the words wouldn't register because she was fixated on the lighter in his hands that he was struggling to ignite. Please don't light, please don't light, please don't light, she repeated over and over in her head, praying to any gods who would listen. And for some reason, it didn't light. Vaas, who was flipping in and out of intense bouts of rage at this point, pushed the broken lighter into Jason's top pocket and wandered back over to the now understandably hysterical Lisa. She remembers then recoiling from his hand as he tried to stroke her cheek. She remembers how his voice suddenly became reassuring and gentle as he leant in close and whispered in her ear that everything was going to be okay. But most of all, she remembers an intense explosion of heat rising up in front of her as Vaas casually threw a lit match into the pool of gasoline on the floor.
All right. So, some of you may have noticed there that there was a lot of black and white in that clip. It says reenactment on it. There was another bit in colour that says actual location. These are things I've just basically kind of copied from real world true crime series that I watch, because I watch loads of them, and then kind of try to put into this to make it feel more like a real story. So if I was to show just the gameplay footage on its own, that would work as well. But having a kind of like, recreation moments and also having footage from real life locations and stuff with that crappy text up the top. I purposely made it crappy because that's what it looked like on the podcast, on the true crime video I was watching and getting inspired by. But yeah, having that up there kind of helps a little bit kind of sell the illusion that it's actually a real thing that's happened. Obviously, it's all fiction, and a lot of it is almost like me doing a let's play with my voice. Like it's like an audio let's play almost in parts of it. But then you get the bits like where I was talking about the Jakarta Post interview, which that's bits made up. The bit with Jason Brody being cocky afterwards, trying to court celebrity and stuff like that. That's all made up, but based on the way that Jason Brody acts in the game, where he turns from this like confused skydiving idiot into this like wannabe bloodthirsty warrior, and he kind of almost turns his friends away from him with that kind of personality. I kind of try to imagine what life was like for them afterwards and what they'd say to the press once they got interviewed, because with a villain as big as Vaas and as notorious as Vaas, and with a whole group of American tourists disappearing then escaping, if that was to happen in real life, that would attract huge amounts of press coverage. They'd be doing press tours. Some of them, I mentioned, don't want to talk to the press. They hide away. But yeah, people like Jason Brody absolutely loved it. So, totally loved it. And talking about celebrities, there is one last clip I've got, but one very interesting part of Vaas's story. Which this is right at the end of the podcast. I've taken like a few minute clips from different parts of the podcast, or show, whatever. I recorded 2 versions. One I say podcast and one I say show. And but yeah, this is from near the end. This is kind of like the one of the footnotes. There's a couple of footnotes because hold on, I wrote this last year sometime before Far Cry 6 came out, and then I had to go back and rewrite a bunch of it and add loads of bits because lots of stuff from Far Cry 6, the Vaas Insanity DLC from Far Cry 6 filled in a lot of blanks and gave me a few things to talk about that I hadn't touched on in the original version, so I added some extra bits. But this is the final clip I have to show you. Oh, that's my password screen. This is the final clip I have to show you, and this is I've titled it Celebrity.
There's one last chapter to this terrible tale that definitely needs to be mentioned in order to bring everything to a close. Because, aside from the local legends and ghost stories that were told to warn people away from Vaas, the witness statements and interviews from after the fact, and that creepy-ass voice on Lisa's ransom video, there was actually little to no proof that Vaas Montenegro even actually existed at all. His body was never found, the remaining pirates and privateers scattered to the winds, destroying most of the evidence before doing so, and the Rakyat, now safe and ready to rebuild, closed ranks to outsiders as they quickly took back control of the islands. This complete lack of physical evidence was so extreme that many people, including the Thai authorities and unbelievably the Indonesian National Police, who were the first to take the group's initial statements after their escape, would come out and suggest it was all a hoax. And this belief was definitely something that wasn't helped by the unbelievable claims that Jason continued to make all over the TV and internet. But then one day, back in early 2013, any ideas of those events being a hoax were shattered once and for all when an old VHS tape landed on the editor's desk at The Hollywood Reporter. It had Indonesian postmarks on the front, what would later be confirmed to be splatters of blood and urine all over the padded envelope, and written upon the tape's label in black biro were the words, "The definition of insanity," with 3 little kiss X's scrawled underneath. And the reason it was sent to The Hollywood Reporter? Well, that was because this tape featured the prolonged torture and eventual murder of missing actor Christopher Mintz-Plasse, aka McLovin, from the movie Superbad. And so, of course, news sites the world over went into overdrive. The so-called McLovin tape is an incredibly distressing watch, and it's one that's sure to cause nightmares for the majority of people who view it. Nowadays, it's impossible to find on anything but the dark web, but a few years ago, a leaker released the whole thing onto YouTube, and while it was taken down shortly after it was uploaded, copies were made and passed around those true crime obsessives who were curious and brave enough to watch it. The video itself only lasts for about 8 minutes, but what makes it so compelling to watch, even given the terrible things on show, is that not only is it the only visual record that exists of Vaas Montenegro that we know of, but it also contains actual solid proof that none of those Rakyat legends or ghost stories were made up, and that none of the Brody gang's official statements or interviews were fabricated at all. They were all true, every single nightmarish part of them.
And it is true. Vaas Montenegro did kill McLovin. There is video evidence in Virtual Criminality episode 1, and you will be able to see that right now, because I have just set Virtual Criminality episode 1 public for everyone to watch. Please do like and share and all that jazz. If you can, maybe leave a comment to get the YouTube algorithms picked up, to get it shared a little bit more. If you have someone who loves true crime and or video games, preferably both, then do share it with them. It was a lot of fun to make, but it took a long time because I kind of, as I said earlier, I lost a bit of confidence with it, and I wasn't sure. I feel like it's something no one's ever done before. I think I feel like I have a kind of like an original idea here, which could be really good if I keep it going. And keep it going, I will, if this one's popular, of course. But due to the length of time they take to make, they're probably going to be about a month at the moment, a month between each one. I already have started pre-production on two, but one of them's further on than the other. Thanks for subscribing, Jeremiah. I can give you some sneak peeks, or not some sneak peeks, but I can give you some hints as to episode 2, because I say what episode 2 is going to be at the end of this podcast. Episode 2 is going to be called Virtual Criminality, Episode 2, The Criminal Origins of Leyland Van Horn, aka Serial Killer X. That is the antagonist, the very, very creepy and very mysterious serial killer of serial killers. Basically, like a kind of inspiration for Dexter or something like that. He's a terrible man who murders serial killers the way that they murdered their victims. Which sounds kind of, some people are like fans of Dexter. Some people think he's bad for taking the law into his own hands. It's that kind of thing. Leyland Van Horn's quite a nasty guy, though, but he does kill serial killers. So is he bad? Is he not? Who knows? We'll find out, I guess. Virtual Criminality, Episode 2, The Criminal Origins of Leyland Van Horn, aka Serial Killer X. That's from the video game. If you haven't worked out from the title, he is the villain from Condemned Criminal Origins. I've tried to get a kind of pun into each title. So the first one, of course, is it's the insanity of Vaas Montenegro, because he does that insane the chat about insanity, that monologue that's falsely attributed to Einstein, I think. So then we have The Criminal Origins of Leyland Van Horn, because it's Condemned Criminal Origins. And then the third one, so far it's just notes, and I've not captured anything, so that's way off. But the third one is The Strange Life of Mark Jefferson. Could be a big spoiler in that, but I'll leave it at that just in case. If you know, you know. But I won't mention anymore. So that is basically that's my super secret solo project that was kind of finished a year ago. I lost confidence in it, shelved it. Far Cry 6 came out, rewrote loads. Just got so busy with streams and work and stuff. I just didn't have the energy to do it. And then over the last couple of days, well, not last couple of days, last couple of weeks, really, I've just been like, you know what? I've done so much. I've captured all this footage. I've written it. Let's just fucking do it. I've got a week off. I'll knuckle down. I've not had a holiday yet. I'm supposed to be on holiday this week, but I've basically done full day's work just on my own shit. But yeah, those are the three those are the first 3 episodes. I want to do characters that are interesting and maybe not as well known. I chose Vaas for the first one because Far Cry 3 is one of my favorite games. It was kind of, I know those characters. It was kind of easy to imagine what they do in certain situations, maybe after the fact or whatever, and kind of, put a bit of fiction into their fictional stories. But yeah, that's my new super secret solo project. It will be out irregularly, but I'm hoping once a month. So maybe you'll get another one end of October, and then if it gets good, if it gets really popular, I can maybe see about increasing production somehow. And yeah, but this is very much the pilot episode. So let me know in the comments to that video what you think of it. If you like it, too long, too rambling, do I maybe go off on tangents a bit too much? There's a couple of bits where I think maybe I could have trimmed those bits off, but I'm just like, fuck it, whatever. Does it work is the main thing, though. I kind of think it does work. Yeah, I think it works, but maybe other people won't. I don't know. Thanks, Cyrexo says, this is incredible, Ian. Can't wait for more. Absolutely amazing, dude. Well, thank you. As you could tell, I was very nervous announcing that, because it has been a long time coming. It's been a long time sat in my brain, and actually making something and putting it out there is quite nerve-wracking anyway. Even though I do it all the time, it's a bit different when I'm up against deadlines and I'm doing it for a job. When it's actually me doing it and having to push myself along. When's the fitness vids coming out? Yeah, it's a little bit different, but we'll see. If you lot enjoy it, let me know. Do give it reviews on the podcasting apps and things as well, and maybe suggest some other characters. Some of them, some of them I might not be able to do. Some of them I might do. Who knows? But as I said at the very start, this doesn't have to be, because it's fiction made real, and because it's video games, it doesn't have to be someone like Vaas Montenegro, who is, a real-ish person. This could go into creepypasta style territory. Off the top of my head, Slenderman. Slenderman's been done loads, but like a ghostly figure, a mysterious thing like that. It could be anything, like something from Little Nightmares or something. It's the world is an open oyster of delicious video game villains for me to plunder, because there's bloody loads of them. I mean, I could even, just looking at this now, maybe I could write something about the Player Unknown. There's lore about him now and his battles to the death that he's doing. I could definitely get a half-hour episode at least out of Battlegrounds lore and things like that. Bloody Yara, what's his name? Oh fuck, I can't remember his name. Anton Castillo, he'd be a good one, but I'm not touching Far Cry again for a while. So you see, there's plenty of stuff that I can probably do. When's the fitness vids launching, says Kate Lilly. Maybe if this one takes off. Lara Croft, the amount of shit she's stolen and destroyed, she's a real fucking criminal, says Mr. Tom. Definitely. What about Faith? Yeah, Faith is good. I am planning to do Joseph Seed at some point, because I have in my possession something that not many people have. I have a physical copy of Joseph Seed's Bible. Someone at Ubisoft wrote an entire Bible, the Word of Joseph or something. And it's got all of his backstory in it, and how he came to be, and how he got his followers and his apostles and things like that. So Joseph Seed's definitely on the list. But like I said, I did a bit of a gap. I want to try and keep it like different each time. But yes, as Nightcat said, you can listen to this now on Spotify, on iTunes. Agent 47. No, maybe. I don't know. Is he a goodie or a baddie? Maybe the Illuminati or whatever they're called. They're more baddies than him, I think. I can't remember what they're called. But yes, there's like plenty of stuff I can do. But yeah, let's see how this pilot episode goes down. You've seen 4 clips of it. You've seen approximately 10 minutes of it. There is another 45 minutes in there of juicy Vaas Montenegro information. And right at the end, you also get to see Christopher Mintz-Plasse, a.k.a. McLovin, get tortured to death. That's why he's not been in any films since Superbad, by the way. It's because Vaas killed him. Do you remember him being in any other films since Superbad? No, because he went off to film the Far Cry Experience, and then he died. So, yeah, that's it from me, I think. I'm going to go off and vibrate for a bit because I was nervous. But, yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for checking this out. Quite a few people watching this reveal. Thanks for coming along on a Wednesday. I am on holiday this week. I might have a flake and not do anything tomorrow because I'm on holiday. If I do feel like streaming, I might stream some Proteus because I played the first level of that and it's fucking great. And also my PC started crashing again. My stupid PC is I thought I'd fixed it by updating the BIOS, but it keeps turning off by itself again. So I'm going to need to, I might take it apart and put it back together again, but it doesn't, it's not the temperature, because I did some temperature checks. So it's either the graphics card or the power supply, I think. Something's fucking just making it shut off randomly, and it's a pain in the ass. So it's just console game streams at the moment. Yes, but there will definitely be a Friday night community stream, because I've got a few boozes to test out that the lovely Booty Squad gave me during EGX. So yes, there will definitely be a community PUBG Fall Guys stream on Friday if I decide to actually have a fucking rest for once tomorrow, which I probably should because I'm knackered. Anyway, thank you very much everybody for watching. You're awesome. Check out the Platform 32 YouTube channel right now, youtube.com/Platform 32. That's where you'll find this new full episode of Virtual Criminality, but you can also listen to it in podcast form as well. So far on Spotify and iTunes, but I'm trying to get it linked to other ones as well. So yeah, thank you very much everybody for being very kind and seeming to enjoy my idea. And oh yes, do follow the Twitter account Virtual Crime Pod, which I'll do some tweets from now. Well, once this stream is finished. So yeah, thank you very much everybody for watching. You've been wonderful. I've been Ian Higton, and let's finish this stream off with one little, just a little recap of what has been going on here today.
Welcome to the first ever episode of Virtual Criminality. I'm Ian Higton, and in this series I'll be combining two of my greatest passions, video gaming and true crime, into one gruesome whole. But what exactly does that mean? Well, each episode of Virtual Criminality will focus on a different video game villain, and I'll be presenting their fictional stories as fact, in the style of a true crime series. That means, along with all the usual gory serial killer stuff that you'd expect from a real-world true crime series, there'll also be times when we get to explore not only the fantastical, but the supernatural too. So, if like me, you're into true crime, video game theories, and creepypastas, you, my friends, have come to the right place. In today's episode, I'll be taking a deep dive into the dark and disturbing world of the fearsome leader of a group of modern-day pirates. This charismatic but highly psychotic individual and his ragtag band of drug-addled followers have been linked to an untold number of crimes in and around the Indonesian archipelago known as the Rook Islands. These crimes include, but are not limited to, armed robberies, sexual assaults, drug smuggling, hijackings, gun running, human trafficking, and most recently, the kidnapping and attempted murder of a group of American tourists. But that's not even the craziest part. There's also proof of our subject's involvement in the murder of a high-profile celebrity, and, almost unbelievably, there are even hints that he was the mastermind behind the secret assassination of one of the world's most feared dictators. So, with all that said and done, welcome to episode 1 of Virtual Criminality and the story of Vaas Montenegro.